So far here on the channel, we've broken down all of the different feature reveals that have came out for FM24 that Sports Interactive have provided us. However, they've given us an extra gameplay deep dive recently. Now, these are only meant to be some minor changes to the game, but for me, I think one of these completely changes the way that you guys are going to play FM forever. To put it simply, you'll be getting new game modes for Football Manager that are going to make things so much more exciting and give you so many new save ideas. And don't worry, at the end of this video, we'll be giving you some of those save ideas. Before we get into it though, if you do enjoy the video, please go ahead, smash that like button for us. It really does help us out, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're in this percentage of people that are watching but aren't subscribed, we'd massively appreciate it if you hit that button. When FM24 comes out, just like FM23, we will have daily Football Manager uploads, every single Wonderkid you need to know about, every single bargain player, tactics, tutorials, it will all be on the channel, so make sure you are subscribed ahead of FM24. And with that being said, let's get right into it. We've got a gameplay deep dive here on screen. I'll attach a link to it in the description for you guys to check out should you want to. And we'll break down the new game modes one at the end, because I think that's the most important one. All of the others are what they said it would be on the tin. Small changes that will make your life a little bit easier as a manager, but won't affect you massively. The first ones are related to international management. Now, this is something that a lot of us have been asking to be improved for a long while. Personally, myself, I've tried it maybe once or twice in my whole time playing Football Manager. Never really enjoyed it, just wasn't really for me. The thing I love most about FM is the transfers, and to have that taken away from you, I think it's not as exciting, but it definitely needed some work, the international management, and they've done some stuff to it to make it a little bit better. The first one is a refreshed national pool. This is where you see all the potential players you can call up to your team. They've added some extra details to it to make it easier for you to pick your players, pick your international team, and hopefully win a few more tournaments. These additions include potential ability being on your national pool screen, tactical suitability, staff advice, and interactions based on the tactic that you've got. For example, if you're playing a 4-2-3-1, your staff will suggest players to pick for a 4-2-3-1. If you change that to a 3 at the back system, suddenly your staff might recommend different players to be picked for your national pool. The next little change is a change to the squad planner, which was introduced last year to Football Manager 23. It replaced the old squad depth screen. I think you can still get to that, but the main squad depth screen is pretty much gone, and the focus is on this squad planner, which allows you to look position by position for your tactic, see the breakdown of players in each position, see how good your staff thinks those players could become, so you can plan for the future, not just 1 year, but 2 or 3 years ahead. And I really like it as someone who rebuilds a lot of clubs on my own channel, which by the way, you can find linked in the description, getting very close to 25,000 subscribers over there. So any support to get to that number before FM24 would be massive. But yes, I use that all the time, and I love the squad planner. But as they mention here in this article, some people loved it, and some people found it didn't really add to their experience at all. So they've tried to enhance it a little bit, a few minor tweaks to help you out when looking at the squad planner. It's kind of quality of life changes I describe them as. The first one is something that I think is very important, and that is going to highlight straight away when you go on the squad planner, there'll be an icon that tells you if you're weak in a certain area. That way, when you take over at a club, if you've only got one left back, that will be identified to you straight away, and you know where you need to recruit in the transfer market. On top of that, there's new icons to show players who have positional flexibility that are a stronger player in a different position. For example, you might have a first choice central defensive midfielder that can also play centre back. Now, when you're setting up your squad planner before, you might not have noticed this. You might have seen you've got 3 central midfielders and 4 centre backs and thought, great, I'm sorted. And then you realise, like a month down the line, one of those centre back options was actually one of the midfield options as well. You didn't notice, and suddenly you realise you're a player shorter than you thought you actually were. So now there's a new icon in the squad depth screen to let you know if a player is the preferred option in a different position, which should help you all out in your squad management. Again, nothing crazy, but it is something. There's also positional analysis, which will appear at the bottom of your screen and will display 3 pieces of information: position depth, player ability, and shortlisted players or youth players as well. And if that wasn't enough squad planner action for you, there is more, because now as international managers, you also have access to the squad planner. Personally, I didn't even know they didn't have this. I thought international management already had a squad planner. Why wouldn't they? But they don't. Now they do. Yes, you can't make transfers for positions, but you can see the depth in your tactic. You can get an idea of where you might be light in certain areas. Maybe you should call up someone from the national pool to help you out in that position. That is something that I think is a necessary addition to the national team, and something that should have been there anyway. But yes, now the fun bit, the reason that I wanted to make this video so much, to show you guys the new game modes coming to Football Manager. I'll overlay the image on screen now for you, but as you can see, there's 3 new game modes that you can select when you start FM. It's not a completely different game mode, mind you, it's just a variation on the normal Football Manager that you're used to playing. If you like the original Football Manager, you can still play it, don't worry, by clicking Original. Now, all of these versions are to do with transfers in and out of your club. The original version is relative to how it's always been in FM. When you start per save, you will have the players that belong to that club in real life. Whether Ansu Fati joined Brighton on deadline day or the first day of a window, it doesn't matter. When you start your save, Ansu Fati will be at Brighton. Then you have the real world game mode. This is slightly different because this game mode will have the players joining your team at the same time they did in real life, which will keep things realistic. It will mean that you kind of have the right players joining at the right time in pre-season, so it's similar to how it was in real life. For example, Fati joins Brighton later on, takes him a little bit longer to integrate. He doesn't have all pre-season with Brighton, and there are effects from that, obviously. So playing the real world game mode will make things similar to real life. I don't think too many will choose that option, but it is an option for you. The one that I think produces so many great save options, though, is this other one, Your World. What this will do is 2 things. Firstly, you are going to start with the transfer budgets that a club would have had before all of their signings in the summer, and you'll start without any of the transfers that they've made in the window. So you can do a lot of saves where you try and almost revamp how a club did things, rewrite history. If a club isn't doing well, you can change things around, buy different players, and your world will then be so different. Now, the first benefit of this is, of course, when you start a save, let's say with Chelsea, they might have had a £250 million budget, right? But because they've spent most of that, you'll probably start your save with 12 million, 13 million. It's how it's always been in FM. Because the money's been spent, you don't really have a budget when you start in season 1, because technically it's already been spent on all the players you've got. Now, though, you will have the full budget. If it was 250 million, you'd have that at the start of your save without any of the players that Chelsea have signed, and that allows you to then rewrite history. Maybe you don't want Caicedo, maybe you want to go for Rice instead, maybe you don't want Nicholas Jackson and you want to go for Ivan Toney. Whatever you want to try, you can try and rewrite history and do better than how a club's done in real life. I said I'd give you some potential save ideas, so let's cover some of the obvious ones. You can take over at some clubs whose transfers might not have worked perfectly just yet. Amrabat, Reguilon, all of those players won't be at the club, and you can sign your own players with the budget that Man U spent on these guys, which is something that you weren't able to do in previous FMs. Chelsea have lots of new names. Maybe you want to sign different players instead of them. Maybe you don't go for Caicedo, he ends up at Liverpool after all. They don't go for Szoboszlai in the end, he goes somewhere else, and the whole world of football will be completely different just with a few different transfers. It could be great fun and opens up so many doors, and it's not just the big teams as well with lots of money that you can change. Maybe you take over at a club like Luton or Sheffield, who obviously are expected to go down in the Premier League. You can see how they've spent their money in real life, and maybe you agree with it, and maybe you don't. Maybe instead you're going to take over and see if you can do a better job than Rob Edwards and co. One thing I didn't even consider right now is, yes, your club's transfers will be different, but that'll mean the same for everyone else. And all of these players could end up at different teams. You could have a completely different reality. And I think it sets up so many fun saves, so many potential rebuild ideas. And I think you guys who want to try it are going to absolutely love it. Maybe it doesn't have to be your main save, but once you've done a few saves in FM, this could be a really cool thing to try, particularly when you start to see how the real life season plays out, how certain transfers got on. You could try and rewrite history. Let me know if you're going to use this mode in the comments down below. Let me know which one you're going to use out of the 3. But most of all, have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.